everybody, my name is Nozibele Kamganamayaba. Welcome to my YouTube channel. First things first, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your support since the beginning of this channel. It brings me great pleasure to bring you this series. I am shooting in my hometown in Port Elizabeth. I'm actually sitting in my mom's lounge and shooting this video. It has been a full day. You have been asking me this for quite some time. You've always asked me to feature mom. You've always asked me to feature my brother, and we flew down to Port Elizabeth to specifically do that. And I really hope that you enjoy this series, and thank you once again for your support. Help my nieces get ready for school. So join me, and then yeah, we'll take it from there. So I always get a little bit emotional in the morning, you know, whenever I'm home, obviously, and I help my nieces to get ready for school, because one, they go to the same school that I went to when I was a toddler, or I was young, or the same age as them. And also, I've shared this before, their mom took care of me when I was growing up, and she passed away a couple of years ago. So mom and I took all three girls, and we're basically raising them. So it is a little bit emotional, particularly when, you know, they're celebrating milestones. The eldest is going to be about 16 now. They're growing up, and I often say we can do whatever we want in terms of raising them, but you can never replace a mother's love. Like, you cannot replace that. So I just went through around my school, just basically looking at how everything is so different yet the same. I'm looking at like the same path, like when I get into the school, it's still the same, and looking at children years later, I mean 20 plus years later, walking the same like route that I did, going to the same classes, being taught by the same teachers that taught me. It's really come full circle, and I get a little bit emotional because my nieces go to the school, and you know, getting them ready for school, and particularly getting emotional also about the fact that, you know, I always think about their mother. So their mom, as I always share on social media, she basically raised me. My mom brought her from her hometown so that we can have someone older that we can live with while she's at work. And years later, she passed away, leaving the 3 girls, and then my mom and I took over to raise them. I always say, you know, we do all the best that we can, but you can never replace a mother's love. So I'm very proud of how far they've come, and the fact that they're also getting the same foundation that I'm getting. It's really overwhelming. And being here and remembering some of the things, you know, that happened in the school. I always talk about the cultural exchange program in the book. So when I was about 11 or 12, my teachers came to us, you know, and said we must start writing to this American school, and we must tell them about South Africa, we must tell them about different things about our houses and our family. And then a year later, I mean, I was what, 11, 12? And then a year later, they come back to us and say, okay, now we are going to choose 8 of you. And we were a group of about 150. We're going to choose 8 of you. You're going to go to America. And by the way, I must just tell you that I was a popular kid, okay? I was a popular kid in school. I was that one that always in the forefront. Whenever, you know, we had visitors and we needed to thank the visitors for bringing us something, I was that girl, okay? But what I mean about popular, I was good popular, just to let you know, and I was very academic, thank you very much. And so I was chosen to take part in the cultural exchange program, and I went to New York. It was a 2003, right? 2003, and it's so significant, that trip, to me, because it opened my eyes. Growing up in the township, being underprivileged, you tend to have this mentality that everything ends in the township. There's no greater world out there. So at 12 years old, going to America for the first time, going to the UN, I talk about how we met Kofi Annan's wife. And I walked out of there, I was like, I'm going to work in the UN one day. So it just opened my eyes into a completely new, different world, new possibilities that I could dream and become whatever I want. It's really amazing to be here this morning. It's really, really amazing. And then we went to my dad's street. Once again, in the book, I talk about the first time I realized that my dad was a big deal. I grew up idolizing my dad. I thought he was the most beautiful, the most handsome, the most intelligent person on the entire earth. I was obsessed with him. I was really obsessed. And I remember particularly when we were getting ready to welcome the American students to South Africa, one of the things that our teachers were preparing us to do is to understand the context of South African history. They made us read like Long Walk to Freedom. They basically, we went around the city understanding the meaning behind some of the statues around the city, so many different things, for us to be able to also explain it to our students that were coming to South Africa. So this one particular time, we were going around our neighborhood very randomly, and one of the teachers that was involved in the cultural exchange program was explaining the name of the street. And from a first glance, I saw that, you know, the street is like similar to my dad's surname, but I didn't put two and two together. I thought to myself, oh, it must have been a coincidence. Anyway, as he started explaining the fact that, you know, my dad was Isibonda, so basically my dad was assigned by the local municipality to be in charge of distributing houses back then during the apartheid era, and also he was a businessman, so he had built himself like a good reputation, and that is why a street was named after him. Going back to that street, it brought a lot of memories, particularly because obviously we just lost him a couple of months ago, and I realized how proud he was, you know, of all his achievements, and it kind of made me realize how much I miss him. I really do.
Oh my Lord, where are you? What do I do? What do I do?
Talking about my dad, I visited also, you know, one of my fondest moments that I have with my dad. And whenever I think about him, I always go back to this moment. So I always explain the dynamic between the relationship that I had with my dad. I never grew up with him. My mom, you know, raised us on her own. And my dad had many children. And us being validated as his children was it was hard because we were not of marriage. In societal terms, we are considered as illegitimate, meaning that, you know, we were not born of marriage, we were not born of something that is acceptable in the community or in our culture. And so finding our space or finding our place in the family, particularly my dad's family, was quite difficult. But I remember this one time. So right after my brother had matriculated and he needed to go to school, so my mom asked my brother to go and ask my dad for money to go to school, and we had to go and visit his shop, his supermarket shop. And I remember tagging along with my brother. We arrived at the shop and my dad was standing with his friend. And he asked my brother to go inside, and we were left just outside with a friend. And it was at a busy intersection. I still remember. It was in the afternoon. People were coming back from work. And just as I was following my brother to get inside, he grabbed my hand and basically was asking me to stand beside him, right? And that moment was so intense for me. I don't think he realized it. Because remember, it from afar or from anyone that was passing by, it's a picture of a girl, a little girl, who's beside her dad, and her dad is holding her hand. And for some reason, that memory just validated my entire existence. The fact that I feel like he realizes that I'm his daughter or worthy of being called his daughter. And I remember, I mean, I laugh about it now, but I remember like he held me for so long that my palm started sweating, like my hand started sweating. But I was praying so much that he does not let go of my hand, because that's how much that moment meant to me. And I remember like when I heard the news of him passing away and all the kids were reflecting on the different memories that they had with dad, I always go back to that. I always go back to that memory. So going back to the same spot was really mind-blowing for me. I don't remember much about where I was born. I just know that my mom kept on telling me that I was born in Vugu Street in a very, very small house. Yeah, I don't have memories of it, but the reason why I really wanted to go back to that house was because every time that my mom and I were used to pass, that house, she would always make reference, that is where you were born. That is where you were born. So although I don't remember anything about it, but going back to the house, just for some reason was just, I don't know, it just meant so much to me. It really meant so much to me, and it just reminded me of how far we've come, not only individually but as a family as well. It hasn't been an easy road, but going back to that house, it really was a reminder of God's grace and the fact that we have been really, really blessed as a family. So it was quite cool. I went inside. I just imagined, I used my imagination, seeing, where the kitchen was, where my mom would have sat, where the rooms were, and walking around, the field. It was great. I went to my former high school. So I remember when I finished my primary school, there was a debate about where I was going to go next. I needed to go to high school, but my family was quiet about it. I remember spending my December holidays thinking, what is going on? Why is not anyone saying anything about me going to school? And eventually my brother went to my dad and basically told him to make a plan. And so my dad, started going around in, to white schools, former white schools, what we call Model C schools. I remember him going to this Christian school, and my mind was, I couldn't believe the fact that I was going to go to that school. One, everything looked so different. Coming from a township school where, as I said, does not have any books, barely have any resources, broken chairs, broken windows, and now having the school where it had everything. I had my own chair, I had my own books. I will be honest though, I struggled initially. I come from a school where I had to memorize a whole book and I got an A. To a school where I was asked to illustrate, to demonstrate, to give examples. I went from an A student to a below average. I really struggled, Socially, I struggled as well because I was the only black student in my class. So it was really hard for me to adjust. I'll say for the first 2 years. I spent 3 years there. The fondest memory I have at the school was, because I lacked in academics, I thought to myself, I can't be just a number. I need to pull my socks up, something needs to give, okay? So I started joining the worship team. So by virtue of being a Christian school, we attended assembly where we would worship, we would pray, and all of those things. So when I saw the worship team, it looked like a real band. Like every Friday during assembly, it felt like I was attending like a concert. Anyway, so I asked, the worship team to join. Although the funny thing is that I can't sing. I cannot sing to save my life. And I have a feeling that they muted my mic for all the time that I was there. That is why I couldn't hear myself properly. But I'm proud of myself, for having done that. I am brave, okay? I am really brave. And then the other memory that I have is just being part of a missionary trip to Uganda, where we fundraised, to build a 2-room classroom, where we fundraised to build a school in Uganda. I mean, we spent about 2 weeks there, playing with the kids, helping building the school, interacting, telling people about God. That, I don't know, that experience, when you grow up thinking you're underprivileged and meeting someone that's far worse in a far worse situation, it actually humbles you. So going back and, some of the teachers, most of the teachers actually that taught me are no longer there, where they retired, but just reconnecting with the teachers that are there, it was really cool. It was really, really cool.
I had an amazing day, and I'm so thankful to be here. I mean, it has warmed my heart to be where I was born, seeing the places, you know, I grew up in, and that shaped the person that I am. And I do hope that you enjoy the rest of this series.